Oi, oi, example here, obviously. My boy AGT has got a brand new podcast out. It's called, check this, really clever, the AGT podcast. He's chatting about like football, trainers, tunes, whatever, you know what I mean? Mainly trainers, to be honest, because he's that kind of guy. Check it out. I can personally vouch that it's superb. It's like probably the best thing I've heard, I wouldn't say today, but this week.
To the oi. Welcome to the AGT podcast. It's been a long time in the waiting, but it's finally here. Episode 1 with myself, AGT, the number one place to hear me chat a load of waffle about music, sport, and trainers with a bit of crack and life experiences thrown in there as well. I'm joined today by the producer, Zach, because that's your job primarily. He's also a good friend of mine. That's your second job.
Co-host third.
Well, you stay in your lane, mate. You know, it's the AGT podcast, so get in your box and we'll put that back to the side. So yeah, the AGT podcast brought to you by absolutely nobody but myself and producer Zach. Listen, we've got a lot to talk about this week, so let's get stuck into the football chat and kick off from there. See what I did there?
Would you like to learn Spanish? We can offer you an intensive 5-week course where you can go from Del Boy to Costa del Sol. At only $9.99, you can learn phrases like Liverpool es el mejor equipo del mundo and nunca caminarás solo. For 10% off, code Despacito in checkout this week only. Hasta luego.
The Champions League quarter-final draw has been announced. Liverpool, my team, have drawn Porto. Zach, unfortunately, is a bit of a disgrace because he is actually a man who straddles two football clubs, being Liverpool and Chelsea, which is a massive disgrace.
If I could just, in my own defence, give my version of events. Nice to see that we're starting on a positive foot.
Yeah, exactly.
So my story goes that my dad's a Chelsea fan, born close to Wimbledon, and my mum's side of the family are all Scousers. So, you know, it's a bit like that film, Sophie's Choice, where, you know, it's an impossible choice. How would you choose between two children? You know, you got the choice put in front of you, but for me, it actually wouldn't be that hard a choice. If I had to, I'd just boot Liverpool under the train, grab Chelsea, whack it on my back, and we'd fly off into the sunset. But I've got a lot of love for Liverpool, as you saw in the pub when we watched the game.
So yeah, we did watch the game. Liverpool, yes! I mean, it's just dawned on me again that we're in the quarterfinals. So we beat Bayern Munich 3-1. An exceptional goal from Sadio Mane. It was emphatic,
my word for that game.
We almost got into a couple of scraps actually in the pub.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you know, to them just people, you know, that
Scum.
just stand in the way of the screen when you're trying to watch the fucking game?
Scum.
And that kicked off a little bit. Yeah. But it was a 3-1 victory. Mane's first goal. I mean, talk about turning on a sixpence. I mean, he'd find space in a phone box.
Yeah.
One of the best keepers running at you, you know, big 6'4"
The audacity to chip as well. That's what I love. Under that pressure, in that moment. So, I mean, if you're going to chip, if it works, it looks amazing. And if it goes wrong, it's one of the most embarrassing things that can happen in football. And boy, did he deliver.
Yeah, so that was 1-0, and then Matip scored the own goal. That's fair enough. He had to kick the ball. And then we sort of grew into the game. Van Dijk, obviously, the best. In my opinion, actually, he's the third best player in world football right now.
Yeah, we discussed this, didn't we?
Ronaldo, Messi, whichever way you want to order those two. Mane's got to be up there as well now. And then obviously Mane scored again to make it 3-1. So Liverpool in the quarters.
Yeah.
It's Porto in the quarters.
Four English teams as
well.
Four
English teams,
First time since, I believe, 2008.
Yeah, 2008 when United unfortunately won. Mm-hmm. They have Barcelona, and if we beat Porto and United beat Barcelona, it's a Northwest Champions League semi-final English team battle between Liverpool and United.
Doesn't really get better than that, does it?
I mean, no. I mean, if we lose that, This, you won't be seeing me on a podcast anymore.
No,
I have
won't
to
be seeing you
hibernate
anywhere.
for some time.
Under a fucking rock.
Yeah, or under a bus, depending on what the score is.
Probably.
So that happened. That was amazing. Liverpool in the quarters, great stuff. Your team, Chelsea, been drawn
League,
against.
Yeah.
Poor man's cup.
Prague.
Slavia Prague. You've got. So yeah.
Arsenal
English
still in
team
that as well.
and exactly. So
It's an
6
all-English
English
affair,
teams.
isn't it, in Europe football? Fantastic, really. Great for the game, isn't it? Great
Brilliant.
for the game.
Fantastic. Another thing that happened this week was Paul Scholes left Oldham as a manager after being in charge for, I'm going to say less than a month, because it wasn't actually 31 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had bed sheets on my bed for longer than that.
Yeah.
At uni,
as well.
I'm a clean guy now. I live at home still, and it's not making me sound great, actually.
We don't need to go there, mate.
Fuck it up.
Back to Paul Scholes.
Yeah, so
bit of insecurity. I live at home,
but it's all right. I
all
get
right.
nice meals every night.
Yeah.
So Paul Scholes, was notoriously shy as a player, right? He never did post-match interviews.
Quiet guy.
And then surprisingly went into the punditry game, which I mean, he's not a box of frogs, is he? He's quite he's quite mundane and quite monotone and quite.
I mean, you could just say he's a reserved kind of,
Well,
being quite
he's
negative
quite
there,
grumpy,
Alex.
actually.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a grumpy ginger nut.
Yeah.
He was a great player, of course. He wasn't as good
Undeniably.
as Gerrard and Lampard.
I agree.
But he's left Oldham. If you're Oldham, if you're one of the star players at Oldham, you're thinking, Jesus, one of the best Premier League players of all time has come to manage us, and he can't even stick around for 2 months.
Yeah.
So
he was saying though it was sort of issues with direction and administration though, wasn't it? It wasn't the players.
But you
and
sort
the
that
staff.
out before you join.
Yeah.
You don't let that happen or let that erupt and make you want to quit after a month.
What next for him, do you think?
He'll probably look to get the cash up again and head back into ITV studios and BT Sport. I mean, he'd probably go back into management at some point. You'd like to think that he could try and get a better job than Oldham.
Oldham, yeah.
Which is funny because he is a stakeholder in Salford United, and Oldham isn't very far away from Salford, so maybe that had.
But it was his childhood club, right, Oldham?
Yeah, it was his childhood club. Apart from
you
United,
think he'd dig in a bit? Do you know what I mean?
Think so?
31 days is pretty pathetic, and I mean, whilst we're talking about that and people changing their minds, kind of brings us on nicely to Declan Rice, doesn't it?
Yeah, what a Judas.
Well,
I mean, for those that don't know, Declan Rice, a really promising English/Irish footballer. He's playing for West Ham. Scored a few goals this season.
Having a bloody good season.
He is having a good season. I can't take that away.
Our West Ham under the direction of Pellegrini.
That's right. You're making it sound like he's a dictator or something.
Well, yeah.
Mussolini under the direction
he's
of
from that
Mussolini,
continent, isn't he, where it's all bloody
that's a bit
narcos and dictators.
Yeah.
Not racist.
Stereotypical.
Yeah.
So anyway, Declan Rice having a great season, has actually played 3 friendly games for Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and then has kind of started to play well. Thought he'd be an Ireland player for the rest of his time or the rest of his career, and now, 75-year-old, wheel him out right back. Anyway, he's completely gone against his experience with Ireland, and he's now chosen and is in the latest England squad.
Mate,
discuss.
He grew up in London. Right?
Yeah.
He is. Do you know what I mean? I think.
But then,
I guess the issue is
play for Ireland.
He's played for Ireland, right? That's your issue, isn't it? I think what's happened is he's got a whiff of
games.
Southgate and that waistcoat and the glory of the summer, and just thought, I'm having a slice of that. You
With
can
all
take
due
your bloody.
I did beat you 5-1 with Ireland last night on FIFA.
We don't need to go there, mate. We don't need to go there. Well, actually,
Shane Long with 4 goals, aka Schlong.
The last best of 3 matches, I absolutely destroyed you.
Wow.
Can't actually
We've
remember
got
who we were
footage
playing.
actually on my Instagram story to say otherwise. But anyway, Declan Rice, what do you think of him? Is he a Judas? Is he looking to further his career by playing for, let's be honest, a better national team? Maybe a more competitive national team. But what do you think, Judas or not?
It's tricky. No, I'm going to go with no. I think it was a bit kind of scummy to play for Ireland in the first instance. And if he had kind of been born and raised in Ireland, I guess that would have a bit more of a dagger in the back scenario. But I think guy grew up in London. He's only played friendlies, and if you were in his shoes, you'd want to play for England in that situation. At the end of the day, anyone in life wants their aspiration to be to the highest level, right?
Unless you're a bum.
Well, I mean, we don't really need to berate the homeless. When it comes
Whoa, I was
football.
not talking about the homeless, mate. I'm talking about bums. Just lazy people. But anyway, as you were. Yeah, as you were.
Declan Rice, to recap, in my opinion, not a Judas.
Not a Judas.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to go with he is a Judas, in fact. I wanted to introduce the listeners and viewers to a section that we're going to be talking about a lot when we talk about football in this podcast. It's called Derby Day Then and Now. So we actually profile 10 derbies. It could be the Classico, it could be the Merseyside derby, various London derbies. You've got the Rio de Janeiro derby. There's loads. Some really big games in football. So we talk about the two teams from that derby and the difference in the last 25 years between 95 and 2019 when it comes to league standings.
94.
Sorry?
94.
94. We're talking...
Because we were both born in 94, but he does forget because...
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we talk about the difference between league standings, top scorers and kits for the selected teams in 1994 and 2019. So this week we're focusing on El Clasico, Barcelona and Real Madrid. Zach's going to kick us off with 1994.
Yeah, so in 1994, Barcelona won the league on goal difference. And
you just wouldn't get that these days.
No, you wouldn't. But then I think at the time, a win was only 2 points and a draw was 1.
You're right.
I think at the time, you would get a lot more kind of similar scores.
Yeah.
Real Madrid achieved a measly 4th place. Romario was the top scorer with a sizzling 30 goals. Was that more than... No, Mo Salah, how many did he score
He got
last season?
36 last season.
In the league?
In the league, 44 in total, I think.
Well, anyway, Romario only managed 30. And Real Madrid, interestingly, didn't even get a top 10 scorer, but they still managed to come 4th. So they must have just had kind of, I guess, a more all-round team performance. When it came to the kits, now, if you're listening to the podcast, you won't be able to actually see them, but for the video and for those watching, we'll have them up on the screen now.
Viewers
for you lucky viewers. But I will describe it to you listeners. So when it came to the kits, Real Madrid, it was kind of that baggy look that you had with the older sort of football kits. They had these purple collars and cuffs. Tekka was the sponsor and Hummel was the kit maker. I mean, it's an all right kit.
Tekka was a great sponsor. I had a 2001 kit from Real Madrid. Never would wear that now after what they did to us in the final last year.
Yeah, probably not. And with Barcelona, actually, I think their kit just looks, I'm sure you'll agree, the kit just looks nicer. It doesn't have a big brand blazoned across it. It was before the days of capitalism, the tireless cogs of capitalism. And it's just got a sort of neat and tidy collar on it. And the kit was made by Kappa.
With no shirt sponsor.
Yeah. So my view is, I mean, if they're being pitted against each other there, in terms of 1994 editions of these teams, Barcelona trumps.
Sorry, I just heard you go in and out of a Somerset accent there, Cornish accent.
I am from Cornwall now, so, you know, don't need to berate me
you just went in and out a bit. Well, not really. So in 2019, Barcelona are currently 7 points clear at the top of La Liga. Real Madrid are in 3rd place after 2 managers in 1 season. Messi, of course, is the top goal scorer with 26 goals in La Liga, and Benzema is Real Madrid's highest goal scorer. Only 17 goals after a huge Ronaldo-shaped hole has been left. Real Madrid have their classic all-white with the classic, again, 3 stripes of Adidas with the sponsor of Fly Emirates getting that good old Arab money. Whereas Barcelona still have Nike as their kit maker and Rakuten. I think they have their own TV service as their shirt sponsor. So yeah, that was Derby Day then and now. Next time we're going to be talking about Manchester United and Liverpool, the North West Derby.
Would you like a giraffe? How about in a box? Log on to AGT's petsovernight.com and we'll deliver any animal you want directly to your door in under 12 hours. AGT's petsovernight.com, turning your animal dreams into reality.
So, we're big music fans on the podcast here. We listen to a lot of different things. We've got an eclectic taste,
Very
I'd like to
diverse,
think.
actually.
Very
Think about
diverse.
it, we don't
So we've actually created a real Spotify playlist for you. It's called AGT's Oven. Every song, well, we're going to be speaking about 3 songs that we love this week, and they'll go straight on the Spotify playlist for you to take home and listen to. This week, we're talking about the 3 hottest songs of the last 7 days from any genre. The first song this week on AGT's Oven is a song called Shangri-La by a band called Loner. A band we know very well, based in North London, but the band members are from all over the country, really. The lead singer, John, is from Liverpool. He's a big Liverpool fan. We've watched a few games with him as well down the pub. And it's a great song. It's the second release under the name of Loner. They used to be called Judas. It comes after She's With Me, which was another great song. This one's called Shangri-La. It's not your typical indie song. It's got shades of dubstep. It's got shades of...
That's what I really like about what they're doing, because when you look at their kind of previous sound, they're definitely, I think with these new releases, they're trying to be a lot more experimental.
Mate, you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
They've got another song coming out in a couple of weeks. The name escapes me, but I've heard that as well.
Spoilers. We have had sneak
so
peeks.
that might
They're
just be an
nice guys
AGT's
though as well,
Oven.
aren't they? And I think
Top
the
blokes.
really interesting story about them is when I asked them how they all met, they met through a website.
Yeah, it's
and
like a
I've had a
Tinder
little
for
identity
dating.
crisis before, where I've been like, maybe I could, learn an instrument and get in a band and
Yeah.
fob off all this boring shit that I'm having to do for money these days.
Which
And there
is-
are,
we'll get into that.
Yeah,
But
Backstreet.
you are a rent boy, so yeah.
Yeah. And these websites are real things. It's a bit like a dating website, but you kind of say what your instrument is, the sound you're going to go for, where you're based, and they actually did this, so it's a real cool sort of success story there. But yeah, definitely.
So number 1 in AGT's Oven this week is Shangri-La by Loner. You can listen to that in the description via the Spotify link. Number 2, an incredible artist, Maverick Sabre. He's about to release his 2nd or 3rd album, and this one is called Into Nirvana. I love it. It's got quite a chilled reggae vibe to it. It's the type of song that you'd want to listen to on a beach with a cocktail. And just really enjoying yourself.
You can feel winter's starting to ebb away now.
Yeah,
Spring's
that's it,
coming
mate.
in. This is the kind of music you want at this point of the year. Stuff to sort of start wetting your whistle for those summer vibes.
Yeah, good vibes indeed. So Maverick Sabre, of course, he's been around now for 8 or 9 years. I've seen him live. He's an incredible musician, incredible vocalist. And Into Nirvana is special to me because he name drops quite a few bands that I listen to. He says the first lyric is, I was looking for Oasis in a champagne supernova.
Oh,
I mean, that's just going to get my attention straight away. Yeah. So he talks about the Stone Roses in that one as well. Amazing song. And that's number 2 in this week's AGT's Oven. Number 3 in AGT's Oven this week is Triton. It's a song by Devlin and Getz. Now, this song for me, Devlin and Getz, if you ask anyone who knows anything about grime MCs, the top 5, they will tell you that both Devlin and Getz are in that list.
Who are the others for you?
Now you're asking. You've got to have Kano in there. You've got to have Dizzy in there. You'd have to have... Wretch has got to be in there, but then Skepta's got to be in there roundabouts.
Honorary mentions.
Yeah, Skepta gets an honorary... Anyway, we'll get into that for another episode for sure. But this one, Triton, I think is how you pronounce it, Getz and Devlin, taken from The Outcast, which came out very recently. It just takes me back, man, to the fuck radio days, the movement days when it was Devlin, Scorcher, Wretch,
the golden
Getz,
years,
and Merkston as well. The golden years, yeah, sort of like 2006 to 2010 kind of era. And this definitely takes me back to that, man. It's you heard it last night. It's a ferocious song.
It is.
It's one that if you were listening to it in a club, it would get a wheel up straight away. It comes with that type of venom. The content is ferocious, as you'd expect from Getz and Devlin. And yeah, it's gone straight into AGT's Oven because it is that hot. So that is AGT's album for this week. Of course, there's been some other albums and music that's dropped this week. What have you been listening to?
Well, I said to you, for me personally, this year is probably the best year I've had in the last sort of 2 or 3 at least for new releases. And this is more for me specifically from a sort of indie music vibe. So you've had new music drop from Vampire Weekend, Foles. Foles have actually released a full album. KG Elephant have dropped 2 new singles. There is one other. Black Keys have just dropped a new single.
Dave as well. We have to say, Dave is number one.
Yes,
number one album in the country right now.
That's why I wanted to talk about Foles. So for Foles' album, this is their 4th studio album, I believe, and it was kind of a throwback to their first album, Antidotes, where they kind of did math rock, and it was just kind of like a really kind of quirkier sound. Their bassist left, so they've kind of adapted their sound with a synthesizer, and it's really amazing. And whilst part of me is actually quite gutted for them because they haven't had a UK number one, I can't help but feel, in terms of like progressing societal norms, to have another urban number one is massive for us, isn't it? Because it was Stormzy that did it last time. And this guy's, I was watching Dave's Insta story last night, and he's such a talented bloke. He's really humble, and he's just gone to number one.
You know what pisses me off?
Yeah.
He's 20.
He's 20,
He's
mate.
not even 21.
What are we doing?
Yeah, we're sitting here in a very humble bedroom. North London studio.
Studio.
25-year-old lads.
Yeah.
He's 20.
Well, I'm 24, mate, so
right.
Yeah, I'm not that old.
Cheers.
But seriously,
but he's 20 years old.
What
it's
a guy.
Just ridiculous.
What a man.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, massive shout outs to Benny as well. Mm-hmm. I'm close with Benny, who's Dave's manager. Mm-hmm. So yeah, massive congratulations to the Neighbourhood Records team. Incredible work. Fraser T. Smith on the chords again. And I mean, yeah, incredible week for music, for British music, and Dave.
Can't wait to see what else 2019's got in store for us.
Fair enough.
Is your brain doing your head in? Was last summer's harvest a little less fruitful than you'd hoped? How about your chickens? Worried about their scaly leg mite? It doesn't have to be this way. Head on down to Big Al's Agricultural Warehouse, where the smiles aren't just a promise, they're a guarantee.
Okay, as you know, we love sneakers on this podcast as well. What am I wearing today? I am wearing some Nike Cortezes, fresh out the box. Thanks very much to Nike for these. No, I'm joking. I paid for these with a 40% discount from Nike, actually. So thanks for the 40% off. But yeah, both sneakerheads. I mean, personally, in this very room alone, I have around 75 pairs of shoes and trainers. So we wanted to play a game. It's called What Would They Wear? So we basically profile a couple of people that have been in the news this week and kind of work out what trainers they would wear. With my extensive knowledge and of trainers, I should be able to, if you give me a person, tell you based on their personality what kind of shoes.
Why don't we do the two that we agreed, and then I'll chuck you in a little curveball at the end, yeah? All right, well, first of all, we were going to talk about what Paul Scholes would wear.
What Paul Scholes would wear? I reckon, yeah, disgrace. I reckon he'd wear a pair of high-techs.
What? High-techs? Why high-techs?
Well, the high-techs, with all due respect to them.
Here's the picture of the high-techs. Listeners, you know what they look like.
With all due respect to high-techs, they are trying to make a comeback. But they're the type of shoe that you would find... I mean, he dresses like a geography teacher.
Nothing wrong with that.
Very boring, very plain, very mundane, which actually represents his style of punditry as well.
Warehouse coat.
And if we're basing his personality on those words, you'd have to say he's wearing a pair of high-techs, something you play squash in the 70s in Yugoslavia.
Okay.
So he's definitely not stylish. I mean, that's...
Don't think anyone's going to argue.
No one's going to argue
Even
with
the most ardent Man United
fan.
So
if Scholesy was a crep head, I reckon he would draw for the high-tech. Maybe a gazelle. He looks like a bit of a football hooligan. Yeah. He's very, slumped
quiet,
over.
But he could at any point grab a hammer and just start in the forehead.
He's a bit of a mentalist. Yeah. So maybe a gazelles. I'll chuck in a pair of gazelles, Adidas gazelles in there as well.
And the second one for you, again, we're kind of having a continuing theme here, is Declan Rice.
I've actually seen a picture of Declan Rice in the club with Russ, who does the famous gun lean dance. And I think Declan Rice was wearing a pair of Louboutins. So, if someone wears a pair of Louboutins, naturally, they want them to be seen. They do cost around the £500 to £600 mark. You're looking at the Selfridges, the Harrods, shoppers. This isn't an Office or a JD or an Offspring kind of shopper. Declan Rice, I mean, I've said he's a Judas. He's quite flash, as these young kids are these days. They get a lot of money and they spunk it on trainers and clothes that they think are fashionable, but really it's just a lot of expensive garments put together that maybe don't gel. So Decker's, Catty. I reckon he's wearing a pair of Louboutins, quite flashy. He's going to be doing this to show the red bottoms quite a lot, as you'd imagine. So yeah, quite flashy, quite snaky, quite Judasy. So yeah, I would get him in a pair of Louboutins.
Okay. Who shall I give you as a curveball then, Alex? Got one. He retired. You think you know where this is going? Big announcement the other day. Louis van Gaal.
Louis van Gaal's
army. What would he be donning?
He would wear...
Rest in peace. Well, not rest in peace. He hasn't died.
Rest in peace.
Have a restful retirement. I mean, you practically when in that industry, when you do retire, it is although Ferguson's doing well, but he did nearly die. I'm telling you, man, you walk away from this game and it kills you.
Anyway, so we're actually talking about trainers, believe it or not. So what pair of trainers would Louis van Gaal wear? I remember an interview he did where he mentioned sex masochism, because one player pulled Fellaini's head and he was like, "You think this is okay? Yeah. This is okay in sex masochism."
Yeah.
So something a bit naughty. I reckon Louis van Gaal would wear a pair...
Clogs? I mean, not sneakers, but or Crocs.
Crocs. Again, not really sneakers, but I think Crocs. They're quite easy to get on and off. You can imagine
he's
he
retired.
Just slides them.
My dad hasn't quite retired,
but
he's got a bit of a thing for Crocs. He's got about 80 pairs. Imagine you with trainers, but with Crocs. That man.
Oh God, that almost makes me want to projectile vomit.
Love your dad, by the way.
Yeah. Big up all the dads.
Yeah.
All the good dads.
All dads.
So that's all we have time for, unfortunately, on the AGT podcast this week. We have come to the end. Join us again next time, and don't forget to comment, subscribe and like this video. That's how we're going to grow and become one of the best podcasts in this world. So next time on the AGT podcast, you can expect all the gossip from the Champions League and international break football. We're going to be looking at who's going to win the title between Manchester City and Liverpool. It's a really interesting title race. We've got more trainer talk. We've got a few huge drops coming in the sneaker world in the next couple of weeks, as well as some massive albums coming out in the music business too. We're also going to be introducing Don't Laugh at Dad, which is a segment on the show where we're going to be saying 3 to 5 dad jokes at each other in accents, and the whole aim of the game is to not laugh at the other person. So look forward to that as well. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel to find out and watch more AGT podcast content. So until next time, let's go and get pissed at the pub, shall we? Come on, mate.